When the build takes you this high off the ground, safety is key. That's where my years of climbing experience make all the difference. Rope! Hey everyone, I'm Mike, and over the past 4 months, I've been building our family's A-frame home from the ground up, solo. Today, I'll show you how I've used my climbing skills to stay safe on the job site while handling some heavy lifting along the way. Let's go. The past 8 years of Yurt life have been quite an adventure. When Nicole and I uprooted our lives in Pennsylvania, bringing along our infant son and 3 dogs to settle in Maine, we never could have predicted the twists and turns ahead. I certainly didn't expect I'd be living in an off-grid yurt while embarking on my first major building project, constructing an entire home from the ground up. With so much to learn along the way, I've been grateful to draw on my climbing experience to stay safe and keep the build moving forward, especially when tackling tasks alone that would normally take a full crew to complete. So why are we even talking about staying safe? Well, there's the obvious reason that I just don't want to get hurt. But there's another really important reason we're talking about safety, and it has to do with these dump trucks driving down the road. I'm out here all alone, and if I fall and don't have my phone on me, these trucks driving past are my only chance of flagging someone down to get help. The nearest neighbor is located about a quarter mile down the road, and there's not any other traffic other than these trucks driving by for me to try to get help. So that's why staying safe out here is an extra special consideration I need to pay attention to. While there are a number of ways I could get injured on this build that would require calling for or flagging down help, the one I was most concerned with was falling from a height. Working 20 plus feet in the air meant that a small slip or a broken board could send me hurtling to the ground and would almost certainly result in an injury that would bring the build to a complete stop. My solution to prevent such injuries from occurring came right from my climbing background and was pretty straightforward. Anytime I was climbing up the structure, I would keep myself tied in. So, if a fall did happen, I might still get a bit banged up, but it wouldn't end with my body coming to an abrupt, bone-jarring stop against the ground. Once a handful of A's were up, I tied a rope across the peak to serve as an anchor point. Then I clipped another rope into that. This allowed me to move the rope back and forth wherever I needed to climb up. With 18 pairs of rafters and 5 pieces of blocking on each, this resulted in a lot of trips up and down. With a safety system in place to protect me while working up high, I had another major challenge to tackle. The other major consideration I had was figuring out how I was going to manage doing the majority of this building all by myself. Raising the first piece of the A-frame was a really exciting moment, and it was actually surprisingly easy to do with 2 people. As the first A settled perfectly into place, there was a moment of excitement and surprise. All the hard work that had led to this point, clearing the land, digging and pouring the foundation, building the beams in the floor, had all paid off in this one triumphant moment. But as quickly as that excitement came, concern started creeping in. How was I going to get the rest of these A's up on my own? Trying to see if we can get another one of these A's up. The challenging part is I gotta do it all by myself. The wheels in my head started turning as I considered how I could use ropes and pulleys to raise the remaining A's. After sliding 2 more rafters into place to reinforce the first A, I had an idea. The bracing I'd put up to keep the first A from toppling off the platform might just work as an anchor point. Using a Z pulley system I'd learned from climbing to create a mechanical advantage, I thought I could rely on some brute strength to lift the A's as high as possible, support it with ladders, and then used my hand winch, anchored to my truck, to pull it up the rest of the way.
So I'm trying to raise this A by myself.
But it didn't take long to realize this wasn't going to work. The ropes I was using had too much stretch in them, and instead of pulling the A up, the winch just stretched the ropes.
So
That's when I had a realization. I could remove the winch altogether and attach the rope directly to the truck. By using the truck as a counterweight, I could pull the A up much more effectively. I took the first pull slow, wanting to avoid breaking the ropes. It turned out to be a good decision, as my initial attempt to use a Z pulley system to create mechanical advantage had caused more harm than good. The extra tension prevented the rope from sliding freely, leaving some sections overstressed and others slack.
I have to redesign my pulley system because there's far too little tension here. Way too much tension on that board. It's just going to snap it.
I didn't need a mechanical advantage with the truck, so I stripped things down to a simpler setup and crossed my fingers. I slowly inched the truck forward, my heart pounding with every creak of the rope as it slid through the carabiners. Each sound sent a jolt of uncertainty. Would everything hold, or would the A come crashing down? To my great relief, it worked. The A rose smoothly into place, and I knew I had a system that would allow me to get the rest of them up on my own. From there, it was a matter of repetition, cutting and assembling each A, attaching blocking to ensure it landed plumb and in the right spot, securing the ropes, and pulling it all into place. Eventually, the bracing I'd been using as an anchor was too low to be effective, so I took one of my 24-foot 2x12s, stood it upright with additional blocking for stability, and attached a heavy-duty pulley to the top. This new anchor allowed me to continue raising the remaining A's. Before I knew it, I was raising the final A into position and adding the last pieces of blocking. It felt like a huge accomplishment, a major milestone in the build. This was the moment I'd been working toward for months, and seeing it come together felt like real progress. The framework was finally standing tall, and for the first time, I could visualize what the finished structure would look like. But as anyone who's ever tackled a big project knows, every milestone just sets the stage for the next challenge. All that stood between me and the next step was building 2 massive dormers into it. No problem, right? I mean, how hard could it be to cut into the structure I'd just worked so hard to put up? Spoiler, it was gonna be a lot harder than I thought. Looking back, I don't know if any of this would have been possible without my climbing skills. Those skills have kept me safe through close calls, reminding me how important it is to prioritize safety and be prepared for the unexpected. Climbing has taught me more than just technique. It's helped me stay calm and adapt when things don't go as planned. With every challenge, I've learned more about what it takes to bring this vision to life. And while there's still a lot of work ahead, when I look at this structure, I'm proud of how far it's come.